everyone. So following Kathy's video, I would like to give you some advice or some examples of activities that you can do asynchronously. Traditionally, when we think of asynchronous activities, we imagine, I think, our students at home doing homework individually. And the idea of today is showing you how the interaction that usually happens in our class inside our contact hours can be done asynchronously, so outside our Zoom meetings. And students can interact in small groups or with the whole class. And we'll see some examples of those kind of activities. Also, these kind of activities can be done traditionally, I think, written. That's what we think often. We think of writing compositions, of doing grammar exercises, or taking notes, things like that. But synchronous activities can be done also orally. Students can record their voice. They can create short videos that can be shared with us or with the rest of the class. And often these activities also can combine both forms, which is a good idea to do. And those activities can be done to provide input. So outside our Zoom meetings, we can provide our students with input in written form or video form. We can have our students practice outside of our Zoom meetings. And also, we can provide feedback to our students, which I think is going to be key, because in our regular face-to-face classes, we have a lot of opportunities to provide students with feedback and having some one-on-one time, even in our class when they are working in groups, at the beginning of the class, at the end. But in a Zoom meeting, that's going to be much more challenging to have. So it's going to be important to have this one-on-one time outside of our Zoom meetings. And as I was saying, we should provide students with input in different formats, and that means not relying that much in what happens during our Zoom meeting, but providing them with alternative forms outside on Canvas or whatever platform we're using. And that can be from something extremely simple, which is providing them with a handout, a little PDF with a summary of what we've done during a certain week, to very elaborate videos. That's a screenshot of some videos I took a few months ago explaining some Catalan grammar points. But in the middle, you have plenty of options. So again, you can provide them with, you can give them a handout. You can, as Kathy was saying, you can record an audio of yourself explaining a page of the textbook that in theory everybody will have. You can use YouTube videos that already exist and just link them so students can watch them and have some extra explanations. You can record your own videos in a very simple way, like I'm doing now with a PowerPoint and my voiceover. And because we'll be at home, most of us, especially I think if you're teaching beginners levels and you're, I don't know, like if you're showing, you're talking about the vocabulary in the kitchen, why not walk them through your kitchen and show, show all the objects. Same thing with furniture, etc., etc. So because of the special circumstances in which we'll be teaching, why not embrace them and take advantage of that? Also, Anna Lima and Litvina show us a few months ago on their workshop how they had students record themselves explaining some grammar, and then students shared those videos with the rest of the class. So have students be part of the course. I think it's a great way of engaging them and making them feel that they are part of this adventure. And yeah, just be creative. I talk a little bit about pre-class plan and post-class summary. And once again, what I have is on Canvas. I have a little link to a Google Docs where I take notes of what's going on during the class, and students have access to those notes after the class. So before the class, they can have like the structure, but then all the content is added during the class, and they have access to that after the class. And that might seem silly, but that allows students to, in case they are missing, in case they come to our Zoom meeting, but because of technological issues or because of the space, where for whatever reason they miss a little bit of the class, they can go back, or if someone has missed that class, they can go to those notes and feel a little bit like they are not missing out, or they are missing out less. And as I was saying before, one of the beauties is to try to make them interact asynchronously outside of the class. We are very used to use our in-class time to have students interact as much as possible, and very often outside the class they work individually. And a good idea might be to move part of that interaction outside of our Zoom meetings. And an option is using the discussion option on Canvas. Everybody, or most of us, are very familiar with Canvas, so it's a very friendly way of doing that. And the discussion options allows us to, for a student or for us, to write a text or add a video or a picture, and then having people reacting to that. So that students can do at any time, but they are interacting in a very simple way, but they are interacting. So you can have Canvas discussions. If you feel brave, you can try with blocks. Blocks also allow very often to add comments on that or any other form. But again, if you feel comfortable with Canvas, stay there. Use familiar tools, or the ones you feel comfortable with. We'll all have to learn some new tools, I think, during this process, and I think that's exciting. And but at the same time, I think it's important for us and also for our students to keep things as simple as possible, because things are complicated enough right now. And I wanted to show you also some extra examples. That's Padlet, so that's not a platform that it's integrated right now on Canvas, but here I had students, after reading a novel, sharing a painting that reminded them of that novel, or the other way around, and then we all shared those pictures, and students in class reacted, like explain why they had chosen, but also you had students reacting to other people's pictures and paintings and say, oh, that's pretty cool, that's true, because this and that. And then the other example was after also reading another novel, students had to write the hypothetical back cover of that novel. And I had them also share their work. And I think in this online setting where a lot of work will be done very individually, it's also important to have students, or it might be useful to have students share their work, not for pointing out, like not in a competitive way, but in the sense of building community. And that's an example of presentations that very often are done in class. I discussed that the other day, and a few years ago, I moved them asynchronously. So I moved them to Canvas. And what my students have been doing in the last years is that they prepare a short video, or 2, 3, 4 minutes, depending on the level, and they post it on Canvas. And then the rest of the class watch the video at home, and then in class we discuss that presentation. You could have that, or you could have the whole activity being moved asynchronously and just have students react to do that. In any case, I think it's good to have a balance and having follow-up of the activities in our Zoom sessions in general. And you can also have, so far we've seen examples of students interacting in written form or a combination of video and written form. And also you can have them interact just with videos. Some of you also might recognize this platform. That's Flipgrid. And Flipgrid allows you to record different videos. For privacy reasons, I made this mock activity where all the videos are myself. But imagine that each video would be a different student presenting something, and the rest of students can react to those videos, recording extra videos. And that can be done, again, outside our Zoom sessions, but it's a very nice way of having our students interacting and communicating. And as I said, finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about feedback and how feedback, the form we provide feedback, I think will change a lot next quarter, especially because we will not have this one-on-one time in class. So Canvas, in that sense, I think will be an ally. We're all familiar with SpeedGrader, and I think we all use SpeedGrader to grade and with all the colors, like correct and mark things in our students' assignments. But I would like to remind everybody that there's also an audio feature that you can record an audio or a video talking to the student about that assignment. And you can go one step further and use the Canvas SpeedGrader and record the screen with your voice over, like I'm doing now. That way you can walk the student over the assignment and point at different elements. I don't think that changes that much the quality of the feedback, but it's a way of increasing presence. I think it's a much more personalized feedback, and in an online setting with the students being physically in different places, I think it is interesting to find ways of making ourselves more present in the class. So I've seen you can also record yourself, as we said before, correcting exercises for everyone. So if there are like short exercises in the textbook, you can just record yourself while you're correcting them and pointing out any specific exercises that are relevant. Again, it's a way of increasing our presence. You can record short messages on your phone. Maybe, again, you can use the SpeedGrader audio feature if the assignment is submitted on Canvas. But for any other kind of messages or communicating with your students, you can just record short messages on your phone, or you can record a weekly video for your students. Just, hey guys, how are things? And once again, like being present. Provide them with online office hours. Office hours are important in general, and they will be, I think, even more important next quarter, because online office hours provide that with this one-on-one time. That's not asynchronous. It's synchronous in the sense of like students will be there, but wanted to put that example here too. And then don't forget feedback from peers, as we were saying, or group editing, sharing the work. It can be a very informal feedback, and we are not talking about students assessing other students or correcting them, just but yes, sharing and and improving each other's work. And finally, don't forget the email. And again, I want to finish reminding you that use tools that you feel comfortable with. Email might not be the best way all the time to provide feedback, because it's difficult for students to keep track of that feedback. And maybe an email can get lost among the dozens and dozens of messages that they might receive on a daily basis. But if that's how you feel comfortable and you're scared of other ways of doing that, start with email, and maybe by week 3 you will feel comfortable with other features of Canvas, and you will, explore other options. But make sure that you provide that feedback, and that students have this feeling of that we are reading and looking at what they are producing, and that they have some sort of reaction to that. Good luck, everybody.